Yarn expert Clara Parkes is back with me this week to talk all about the wonderful world of tweed. Hi, Clara.
Hi, Eunny.
So this is the real stuff.
This is the real deal. This is the real tweed yarn. Donegal Tweed originated in County Donegal, Ireland. It's a place that's been producing yarns for a long, long time. And what's unusual about the yarns that come from that area is that they are known for blending a lot of different colors. And allegedly they get it from the landscape. All the different plants give you the different muted tones. And what's fun about this, what's fun about tweed yarns in general, is that they're not monochromatic. You have a red that is built from all sorts of other colors. You could have up to 7 base colors that have been dyed in the wool before it was blended to be spun.
So in these kinds of tweed yarns, the yarn is, it's dyed before it's even yarn.
Exactly. They call that fleece dyed or dyed in the wool. And that gives them a lot more leeway in terms of creating a new color. You can be a mad scientist in the laboratory, putting together 12 different shades, or like 7 or 8, to create the end color that you see.
Well, I think it's so fun because you can really see all the different sort of base colors that are in there, and then on top of that, it's there are these other things layered on.
That's exactly it, and that is what makes this region's yarn so unique, is the tweed, the little flecks of other color. And again, you can have 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, you can go wild and add a lot of different colors to the little tweed flecks. And the challenge with that, in all yarn production, you're trying to get the fibers as blended together as possible so that they can be spun. But in this case, you want these little flecks to really stand out, but you don't want them to fall off. So there's real artistry in adding these flecks in such a way that they maintain cohesion in the yarn, but they still stand out.
And when we say Donegal tweed, which is just sort of a generic term for a style of tweed,
exactly.
What does Donegal actually refer to?
County Donegal in Ireland, and that was where it was really developed. And that's where it's still spun today. They still have a thriving industry there.
Wow. So what I think is cool about this particular yarn is that it looks very rustic, right, when it first comes off the needles.
Yeah, it looks rustic. This is unwashed. I mean, look how boing, it's very springy. When you wash it, also I should say, it looks rustic and it looks like it's a single strand of spun fibers, right? That would not allow me to do this. So if you untwist it and look closely, you will discover, if I can get this untwisted, dun, da, 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 there are actually 2 strands in there. And again, that's not cheating. That it's simply, see, that would fall apart if you tried to knit with that. But by putting those 2 together, not only are you giving strength, but you're giving a nice roundedness and structure to the yarn.
That makes good sense. It has kind of more going on than meets the eye. And it changes so much when you wash it.
Exactly. You drop this. Fibers are always held under tension when you're spinning with them, and then when they're dyed, when they're skeined, when they're knit, they're always under tension. And as soon as you drop them in that warm, soapy water for the first time, and the fibers can finally relax and stretch out their legs, get to know their neighbors, get to know the neighborhood, what you get is much, much more cohesive piece of fabric, and there tends to be a bloom, which is very helpful if your tension is not always regular, or you knit half the sweater watching a happy movie and the other half watching a really scary movie, and your tension kind of changes. When you wash this kind of yarn, you can block that out. The fibers will really forgive a lot.
It's one of the beauties of wool.
Exactly.
And then it looks great in texture patterns too.
Beautiful.
And I'm surprised because a lot of times I feel like tweed yarns kind of obscure patterning.
They do. I like to think of it as everything is sort of sculptural, high relief, low relief, and with tweed yarns you can do gorgeous 3-dimensional stitch patterns. They will look kind of more mossy, like an old stone, how weathered stones can be so beautiful. It's a specific effect, and if you want it, these are the kinds of yarns that you would want to use for that. One thing I was going to urge people to do, just a little tip, always remember when you are knitting with a yarn like this, and we all do this anyway, of course, is to darn in your ends before you wash. Because proof of the bloom, how these fibers relax when you wash them, this guy I didn't darn in. And you see what happens with the washing. And at this point, if you tried to darn with this, it comes apart much more easily.
It's untwisted itself a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what's happening here. It's really relaxing and blooming beautifully.
And then this is a felted swatch?
That's exactly it. This was knit on larger needles. It's a larger piece of fabric. That just had one trip through the washing machine in hot soapy water. The natural felting characteristics of wool sprung into action.
Wow.
And you get this great cohesive piece of fabric
I
here.
love that you're still seeing the tweed kind of come through.
It still pops out, yeah.
And then real quickly, this is an all wool tweed, right? And then here we have some interesting tweed blends.
Exactly. These are kind of proof that tweed doesn't have to be the nice hardy homespun kind of effect. Over here is a wool and cotton blend, and then over there you have a silk and wool blend.
Oh, interesting, but they still have that kind of earthiness to them.
Yes, they do.
Well, great. Old school tweed and new school.